Attention all Australian drivers. There's a rule change that's been quietly rolled out across the country, and it's already catching thousands of drivers off guard. If you get behind the wheel without knowing about this, you could face massive fines, demerit points, or even lose your license. The next few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars and a lot of trouble. Welcome back to Centrelink Pension Update, your trusted source for important news that affects everyday Australians, especially seniors and pensioners who rely on driving for independence and getting around. I'm here to break down complex rule changes so you're never caught off guard. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we cover critical updates that directly impact your daily life. Today, we are exposing a hidden rule change that's affecting drivers right across Australia. This isn't getting the attention it deserves in mainstream media, which means thousands of people are breaking rules they don't even know exist. Whether you're a daily driver, occasional driver, or you're driving to medical appointments and shopping, you need to know about this immediately. Let me get straight to what's happening. Traffic authorities across multiple Australian states and territories have implemented new regulations regarding mobile phone use, license renewal procedures, medical reporting requirements, and parking enforcement. These changes have come into effect with minimal public awareness campaigns, and the result is that everyday drivers are getting caught out. The most significant change that's catching everyone involves mobile phone rules. Now, you might be thinking, we already have mobile phone laws. Yes, we do. But they've been dramatically expanded and the penalties have increased substantially. Here's what's changed that most people don't realize. It's no longer just about holding your phone while driving. The new rules now cover any interaction with your phone, even if it's in a cradle or mounted on your dashboard. If you touch your phone for any reason other than the specifically permitted users, you can be fined. We are talking about fines of up to $500 and 5 demerit points in some states. Here's where it gets tricky. The permitted users are very specific. You can touch your phone to answer or end a call, to use audio functions like music or podcasts, or to use navigation, but only if the phone is secured in a commercially designed holder fixed to the vehicle. You cannot touch your phone to send messages, scroll through playlists, adjust navigation settings, check notifications, or take photos. Even if the vehicle is stationary at traffic lights, the part that's catching people out is this. Even if you're stopped at a red light, the engine is running and you quickly pick up your phone to respond to a text or change a song. That's now illegal in most states. Your vehicle must be parked with the engine off before you can freely use your phone. Traffic light stops don't count as being parked. Mobile phone detection cameras have been expanded across New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, and other states are following suit. These cameras use artificial intelligence to detect drivers using their phones. They can see through your windscreen and capture evidence even in low light conditions or bad weather. The cameras operate 24/7 and there are no warning signs before them. What's really catching people is that these cameras can detect phones being used in your lap, on the passenger seat, or anywhere in the vehicle. I've heard reports of people being fined for holding their phone while parked at a drive-thru with the engine running. The rule is clear. If the engine is on, your phone cannot be in your hand. For older drivers and pensioners, this is particularly concerning because many of us use our phones for navigation to medical appointments, to call family for directions, or to manage important calls. The key is making sure your phone is properly mounted and you're only touching it for permitted reasons. Now, let's talk about license renewal changes. This is huge for seniors and it's not being widely publicized. Several states have introduced new medical assessment requirements for drivers over certain ages. The thresholds and requirements vary by state, but the general trend is toward more frequent assessments and stricter medical reporting. In New South Wales, drivers aged 75 and over must have an annual medical assessment to renew their license. But here's the hidden change. The medical assessment form has been updated with new questions and stricter criteria. Doctors are now required to report more conditions, and the assessment includes cognitive function questions that weren't there before. Victoria has introduced similar changes for drivers over 75, requiring a medical review and potentially a practical driving test. Queensland is implementing staged assessments starting at age 75 with more comprehensive testing required at age 80 and beyond. The part that's catching people off guard is that these assessments can now result in conditional licenses that restrict when and where you can drive. Some seniors are finding themselves suddenly restricted to daylight driving only or limited to a certain radius from their home. These conditions can be imposed without a full assessment of your actual driving ability. What makes this particularly concerning is that many seniors depend on their license for independence. Being unable to drive at night might mean missing evening social activities or being unable to help family members. Being restricted to a certain area might prevent you from visiting family who live further away. Here's another hidden change that's affecting pensioners specifically. The cost of license renewal has increased in several states, and concession eligibility has been tightened. In some cases, pensioners who previously received free or discounted license renewals are now being charged partial or full fees. This can be a shock when you go to renew and suddenly face a bill of $50 to $100 that you weren't expecting. Parking rule changes are the third major area catching drivers off guard. Local councils across Australia have been given increased powers to enforce parking restrictions, and many have introduced new time limits, permit requirements, and no stopping zones without adequate signage or public notification. What's happening is that streets where you've parked safely for years suddenly have new restrictions. Maybe it's now a 2-hour limit instead of unrestricted parking. Maybe permit parking has been introduced for residents only. Maybe there's now a clear way during certain hours. The problem is that signage isn't always clear or visible, and councils are issuing fines without warning periods. Many councils have also introduced digital parking meters and apps that are confusing for seniors who aren't tech-savvy. You're expected to download an app, create an account, enter your vehicle details, and pay through the app. If you don't do this correctly, or if you can't figure out the technology, you get fined. There's often no alternative option for cash payment or traditional ticket machines. Speed limit changes are another hidden trap. Speed limits on many roads have been reduced, particularly around schools, shopping centers, and residential areas. The problem is that these changes aren't always well signposted. You might have driven a road for 20 years knowing it was 60 km/h and suddenly it's been changed to 50 or even 40. But the signage is small, unclear, or positioned where you can't easily see it. School zone hours have also been expanded in some areas. It used to be that school zones were enforced during clear drop-off and pick-up times. Now, some areas have school zones active from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on school days, catching drivers who are passing through mid-morning or early afternoon when they don't expect school zone speeds to apply. Red light camera sensitivity has been increased. This is a technical change that most people aren't aware of. The cameras now have shorter grace periods and more sensitive detection. What this means is that if any part of your vehicle crosses the line after the light has turned red, even by a fraction of a second, the camera will capture it. Previously, there was a very small buffer, but that's been reduced or eliminated in many locations. Roundabout rules have been clarified and enforcement has increased. Many drivers, including experienced ones, don't fully understand the correct procedure for multi-lane roundabouts. The hidden change is that police are now actively targeting roundabout violations, issuing fines for things like not indicating correctly, being in the wrong lane, or not giving way appropriately. These fines come with demerit points and can be costly. Seatbelt laws have been tightened regarding pets and loose items in vehicles. While it's always been required for passengers to wear seat belts, there's now increased enforcement around unsecured pets and objects that could become projectiles in an accident. If you're driving with your dog unrestrained in the car, or if you have loose items on the back seat or parcel shelf, you can be fined. This is being enforced more strictly than ever before. Trailer and caravan regulations have changed. If you're a senior who enjoys caravanning or uses a trailer for gardening or hobbies, there are new requirements around load restraint, lighting, and registration that many people aren't aware of. Penalties for non-compliance have increased significantly. Let me share some real examples of how these hidden changes are catching people. Tom from Sydney, a 72-year-old pensioner, was fined $350 and lost 5 demerit points for touching his phone at a red light to accept a call from his doctor's office about a test result. He had no idea this was now illegal. Margaret from Brisbane had her license restricted to daylight hours only after her annual medical assessment at age 76. She'd been driving safely for 58 years without any accidents, but failed one part of the cognitive test. She can no longer attend evening church services or help her daughter with night shifts. Robert from Melbourne received 3 parking fines in 1 month, totaling $450, because a street he'd parked on for 5 years introduced 2-hour limits with permit requirements. The signage was installed while he was away on holiday, and he had no idea about the change. Jennifer from Adelaide was caught by a mobile phone detection camera while her phone was sitting on her lap. She wasn't using it, but the AI camera detected it and she was fined. She had to go through an appeals process that took 3 months to get the fine dismissed. These aren't isolated incidents. These are patterns happening across the country as these hidden rule changes catch unsuspecting drivers. So, What do you need to do right now to protect yourself? First, familiarize yourself with the updated mobile phone rules in your state. The key points to remember are your phone must be in a fixed commercial holder if you want to use it while driving. You can only touch it for calls, audio, or navigation. You cannot touch it while stopped at traffic lights unless your engine is completely off. And even having your phone loose in the vehicle where you could reach it is risky. Second, if you're approaching the age where medical assessments are required, start preparing now. Talk to your doctor about what the assessment involves. If there are any health conditions that might affect the assessment, address them proactively. Consider having a professional driving assessment done independently so you know where you stand before the official assessment. Third, be extra vigilant about parking. When you park somewhere, especially if it's been a while since you last parked there, carefully check all signage. Look for time limits, permit requirements, clear wait times, and any restrictions. Take a photo of the signage with your phone showing the date and time. This can be useful if you need to appeal a fine. Fourth, pay attention to speed limits, especially in areas where you drive regularly. Don't assume the speed limit is what it's always been. Look for signs indicating changes. When you're in school zones, check the times carefully and slow down accordingly. Fifth, ensure your vehicle is compliant with all current regulations. This means everyone wearing seatbelts, pets properly restrained, no loose items that could cause danger, and if you're towing anything, make sure it's properly secured and lit. Sixth, consider taking a refresher driving course. Many organizations offer courses specifically designed for seniors that cover the latest road rules and defensive driving techniques. These courses can help you stay current with changes and might even get you a discount on insurance. Here's something important for pensioners specifically. If you receive a fine that you believe is unjust, or if you are genuinely unaware of a rule change, you have the right to appeal or request a review. Many states have provisions for first-time offenses or situations where there was inadequate signage or notification of rule changes. When writing an appeal, be polite and factual. Explain that you were unaware of the rule change. Describe how you've been driving safely for many years. And if relevant, mention that you're a pensioner on a fixed income for whom the fine represents a significant financial burden. While there's no guarantee of success, many appeals are accepted, especially if it's your first offense. If you're struggling with the financial impact of a fine, most states offer payment plans. Don't ignore the fine hoping it will go away, because penalties and enforcement action will only make things worse. Contact the issuing authority immediately and arrange a payment plan that suits your budget. For seniors who are worried about losing their license due to medical assessments, there are options. If you disagree with a medical assessment outcome, you can request a second opinion or an independent assessment. You can also appeal decisions through proper channels. Don't simply accept a license cancellation or restriction without exploring your options. Organizations like the National Seniors Australia and state-based seniors advocacy groups can provide support and advice if you're dealing with license issues or unfair fines. They often have resources and can help you navigate the appeals process. Let's talk about alternative transport options. Because for some seniors, these rule changes and increased enforcement might make driving more stressful. It's worth knowing what alternatives exist. Many areas now have community transport services specifically for seniors that provide door-to-door service for medical appointments and shopping. Read-share services like Uber and ride sourcing programs have expanded to include senior-friendly options. Some services specifically cater to older passengers who need extra time or assistance. Seniors' concession cards often provide free or heavily discounted public transport. If you haven't been using public transport because you drive, it might be worth investigating as a backup option for times when you prefer not to drive. I want to emphasize that these rule changes, while catching people off guard, are generally implemented with safety in mind. Distracted driving from mobile phones is a leading cause of accidents. Medical assessments aim to ensure drivers are capable of driving safely. Parking restrictions often improve traffic flow and safety in busy areas. The problem isn't necessarily the rules themselves, but the lack of clear communication and public education about changes. Governments and authorities need to do better at ensuring all drivers, especially older drivers who might not be online or following news closely, are aware of important changes before enforcement begins. Until that improves, it's up to us to stay informed and help spread the word. That's why videos like this are so important. By sharing this information, we can help protect fellow drivers from unexpected fines and penalties. If you found this information valuable, please share this video with other drivers, especially older friends and family members who might not be aware of these hidden rule changes. Post it on community Facebook groups, send it to your local seniors club, or simply tell people about what you've learned. Give this video a thumbs up to help it reach more people who need this information. Comment below if you've been caught out by any of these rule changes or if you have other hidden rules you think drivers should know about. Your experiences help other viewers stay informed. Make sure you're subscribed to Centrelink Pension Update with notifications turned on. While our channel focuses primarily on pension and Centrelink news, we also cover other important issues affecting seniors and everyday Australians, including rule changes like these that can have serious financial and practical impacts on your life. Remember, staying informed is your best defense against hidden rule changes. Check your state's Transport Authority website regularly for updates. Join local community groups where these changes are discussed. And most importantly, drive safely and stay alert to changes in your area. Thank you for watching. Stay safe on the roads. Keep up with these rule changes. And I'll see you in the next video with more important updates that affect your daily life. Take care out there.